Second session of 3 days international webinar on recent emerging trends in wireless communication organized by Department of Physics, Sri Ayappa College for Women, Chingankade, in collaboration with Indian Association of Physics Teachers, IAPT. Wireless communication has a long history on its development, a means of exchanging information through the free space or wireless media. Though in the beginning it was developed as a tool to capture the mobile telephony, but due to increase of user density and requirements of faster access of information in terms of data, video, voice, etc., from remote location in mobile fashion reveals new emerging trends of wireless technology. Mobile and wireless telephony has tremendously changed the way in which accessing of corporate information can be done at very faster rate from any remote location at any time by employees, partners, and customers, changing the way in which corporate do business since the new millennium. Today's session, handled by Professor Pradeep Tawade of Electronics and Telecommunication Department, Vidyalanka Polytechnic, Wadala, Mumbai, and his talk about mobile and wireless communication. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind acceptance and presence here. Thank you so much. It's my proud privilege to request our head of the department, Dr. I.S. Pranila Kumari, to welcome each and everyone. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Meera. Honorable Resource Person Professor Pradeep Taude, Lecturer in Electronics and Telecommunication Department, Vidyalangar Polytechnic, Vadala, Mumbai. Respected Principal Dr. K.V. Jayashree, Organizing Secretaries Dr.M.R. Meera and Professor R.J. Ajita. Dear colleagues, Dr. Radhika, Dr. Jayashree, Dr. Janata, participants from various colleges, and my dear beloved students. Good morning to you all. I'm Dr. Pramila, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Physics, Sri Ayappa College for Women. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome each one of you for the second day of our 3-day international webinar based on the topic Recent Trends in Wireless Communication, organized by our own department in association with Indian Association of Physics Teachers. Awake, arise, stop not till the goal is reached. With these great quotes, in this joyful occasion, I feel very proud to welcome each one of you present here. First of all, let me express a warm welcome to our college principal, Dr. K.V. Jayashree, and our management for the wholehearted support rendered by them in organizing this webinar. On behalf of our own department, I extend a hearty welcome to our college principal, Dr. K.V. Jayashree. Next, I feel very proud to extend a warm welcome to our resource person, Professor Pradeep Taude, who is working as a lecturer in Electronics and Telecommunication Department, Vidyalangar Polytechnic for the past 10 years. Let me give a brief account of his biodata. He has completed bachelor's degree in engineering in electronics and master's degree from Mumbai University in the year 2016. He has also completed professional certificate course in wireless maintenance technology, TCWMP. This course covers deep understanding of wireless technologies, including CDMA, TDMA, etc. He has completed 2 major projects, including one in microcontroller based answer paper evaluation, and the second one is based on the use of genetic SVM for ECG arrhythmia classification. He has also attended more than 40 workshops and many more training programs. He has attended many international as well as national seminar and presented many papers in it. He has also published more than 6 textbooks in electronic communication. Few of them are books on digital communication, books on microcontroller programming, books on basic electronics, and so on. Today, he is going to give an interesting talk on mobile and wireless communication, which is very useful for the participants because our fifth semester students are now undergoing a paper on this basis of uh, electronic communication, based on electronic communication. On behalf of Sri Ayyappa College for Women, I extend a cordial welcome to you, sir. Welcome to you to this webinar. I feel very proud to extend a warm welcome to our organizing secretaries, Dr.M.R. Meera and Professor R.G. Ajida. Welcome you both to this webinar. Finally, I extend a warm welcome to all my colleagues, participants, and my dear participants from various colleges and my dear beloved students. Welcome one and all. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your welcome speech. Let me invite Professor Pradeep Tavade of Electronics and Telecommunication Department, Vadala, Mumbai, to deliver today's talk on mobile and wireless communication. Sir, please.
Okay. Good morning, one and all.
Nice.
So I thank you, everybody, the head of the department, the management of the institute, and all colleagues. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity to deliver the session on mobile and wireless communication. Now, students, first of all, I will like to ask you, when I talk about communication, or you should know what is exactly communication. And right now, in today's scenario, in pandemic situation, everybody must be aware of. Without communication, nothing is possible. So, first of all, let us understand what is communication. So basically, when I talk about communication, basically it is the exchange of information from source to destination. Now, first of all, let us understand what is the block diagram of communication system. As today we are going to discuss the topic on mobile and wireless communication. So to be more precise, first of all, we will understand what is the block diagram of electronic communication. So when I talk about the block diagram of electronic and communication, the various blocks are input transducer, transmitter, channel with noise, receiver, and output transducer. Now let's understand what is input transducer. So basically, input transducer converts audio or video signal into electrical signal. Then we have the important block, that is transmitter. Whenever we send the information signal or message, the very two important blocks are transmitter and receiver. So what is exactly function of transmitter? So basically transmitter converts low frequency signal into high frequency signal, and the process is called as modulation, and it also increases power level of the signal. When I talk about receiver, so it is exactly opposite process as that of transmitter. So basically it converts high frequency signal into low frequency signal, and the process is called as demodulation. It also increases power level of the signal. So basically microphone is nothing but input transducer, and loudspeaker is output transducer. Now let us understand what is noise in communication system. Unwanted signal mixed with the desired signal is called as noise. The signal which is transmitted, there are different types of channel or medium. You can have fiber optic cable, coaxial cable, and so on. So depending on the media which you are using, transmission media to be more precise, you will have different types of communications over the transmission media. Now let us understand the exactly what the topic which we are going to discuss today, that is mobile and wireless communication. So I hope everybody understood first of all what is communication and what is the block diagram of communication system. So just I will summarize once again. The various blocks in the communication systems are input transducer, transmitter, channel with noise, receiver, and output transducer. Now just I will share my screen and we will proceed further for today's session on mobile and wireless communication. Just let me know, ma'am. My screen is visible.
Yes, is no, not sir. Not visible, sir.
Now is it visible?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. So first of all, let us understand wireless network generations in mobile and wireless communication. So when we talk about mobile and wireless communication, students, you must be aware of there are different wireless network generations like first generation, second generation, third generation, and right now in today's scenario, we are in fifth generation. So when I talk about the first generation, that is 1G, in short, we will call it. So there are different types of first generation in mobile
Excuse
and
me, sir.
wireless
Excuse
communication.
me, sir. Sir,
Oh yes, ma'am.
if you're not possible to present the slides, please send to me. I will share it.
Okay, fine, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah, share it. Now it's okay, sir.
Now is it visible?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And not visible your slide now. Just a presentation. Not visible your slide.
Okay. Now is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So sorry for the interruption and because of some technical glitch. So students, let us understand wireless network generations. As I have already introduced myself, good morning everyone. Once again, myself Professor Pratik Taude, lecturer in Electronics and Telecommunication Department, Vidyalanka Polytechnic, Vadala, Mumbai. Now, students, let us understand what are the various wireless network generations. So, whenever you are studying any new concept, the first of all, very important thing is you should know what is the learning outcome of that particular session or whenever you are studying any new concept. So, the learning outcome of today's lecture or today's session is basically we are going to recall what are the various wireless network generations in mobile and wireless communication. Now there are different various wireless network generations. When I talk about the first generation cellular systems, basically it belongs to analog voice technology. So it is very important. Students, take a note of it in your notebook also simultaneously. First generation cellular systems based on analog voice technology. And there are various different standards in analog or we can say first generation cellular systems. The first standard is AMPS, which stands for Advanced Mobile Phone Service, introduced in 1983 in USA. It has 666 duplex channels, 40 megahertz of spectrum in 800 megahertz band, 30 kilohertz for one-way bandwidth. In 1989, the FCC granted an additional 166 channels, 10 megahertz to US cellular service providers. And forward and reverse channels in each pair are separated by 45 megahertz. So this is very important when we talk about first generation cellular system. It is based on analog voice technology and the first standard which was introduced in first generation wireless cellular system is nothing but AMPS. And the various features are it has 666 duplex channels, 40 megahertz of spectrum in 800 megahertz band, and 30 kilohertz for one-way bandwidth. There are few more standards in first generation cellular system as compared to AMPS. The various standards are as compared to AMPS are NMT 450, that is Nordic Mobile Telephone. So when I talk about NMT, it stands for Nordic Mobile Telephone. It was introduced in 1981 and it was adopted by European states 28 kilohertz. There is one more standard in first generation cellular system, that is TACS, Total Access Communication System, and it was a very successful system in Great Britain. NTT, Nippon Telephone and Telegraph. It was introduced in 1979, 25 kilohertz. So these are the various first generation cellular system standards: AMPS, NMT 150, TACS, and NTT. AMPS stands for Advanced Mobile Phone Service. NMT stands for Nordic Mobile Telephone. TACS stands for Total Access Communication System, and NTT, that is Nippon Telephone and Telegraph. Now, students, it is very important. There are some drawbacks of first generation cellular systems. That is 1G. Data speed was less, internet speed was less. When I talk about the mobile handset, you are not having any more features when I talk about first generation. And therefore, second generation came into existence. So let us understand now the second generation of mobile and wireless communication. So whatever we are discussing right now, that is nothing but the evolution of mobile communication. There was initially first generation, that is 1G, but there are some drawbacks. Therefore, second generation came into existence. So now let us understand second generation. But before moving to second generation, first of all, let us understand the evolution of mobile communication, whatever we have discussed till now. So there is the evolution of mobile communication. You have AMPS, that is Advanced Mobile Phone Service, TACS, that is Total Access Communication System. Then you have NMT, that is Nordic Mobile Telephone, and NTT, that is Nippon Telephone and Telegraph. So all these are the various standards for first generation cellular systems. And whatever I have told right now, there are some drawbacks for first generation. Data speed is very less. Then bandwidth, when I'm talking about the limited spectrum. So all those drawbacks, poor battery life. So all these are disadvantages or limitations of first generation cellular systems. And therefore, second generation, that is 2G, came into existence. So now let us understand second generation cellular systems. It is very important, students. Kindly make a note of it in your notebook also. Whenever I talk about first generation cellular system, it was based on analog voice technology. And when I talk about second generation cellular systems, it's based on digital technology. So this is very important. 1G is based on analog voice technology, and the second generation is based on digital technology. Now there are various different standards in second generation. Like in first generation, when I have discussed about AMPS, NMT, NTT, TSS. On similar lines, there are different standards for second generation as well. In US, there is USDC and PACS. USDC, in short, it is called as IS-54 or IS-136 or DCS 100 or IS-95. In short, it is called as a CDMA, Code Division Multiple Access. When I talk about Europe, in Europe, the second generation systems were GSM, that is Global Service for Mobile, and DCS 1800. Then you have CT2 as well, which is based on TDD, Time Division Duplexing, and DECT, which is also based on Time Division Duplexing. And when I talk about Japan, again, there are two more standards in second generation. That is PDC, Personal Digital Cellular, and PHS, which is also based on time division duplexing. So there are two different methods for duplexing technique: time division duplexing and frequency division duplexing. So students, remember, when I talk about the second generation wireless systems, It is based on digital technology, and the duplexing technique is TDD, that is time division duplexing. Now, students, you will have one doubt. There is A part and B part in all the countries like US, Europe, and Japan. So now let's understand what is the difference between these two. So when I talk about the A category, like USDC, GSM, PDC. When I talk about the A category, it is having high speed, high base station power, low traffic density, and few base station. And when I talk about the B category, it is having low speed, low base station power, high traffic density, and many base stations. So these are the various important technologies in mobile and wireless communication. That is, what is base station, what is mobile station, what is mobile switching center, what is base station controller, what is MSC, and so on. Now let us understand. Again, there are different standards for second generation cellular system. That is GSM, Global Service for Mobile. So students, I will repeat once again. First generation is based on analog voice technology. Second generation is based on digital technology. The various standards in first generations are AMPS, which stands for Advanced Mobile Phone Service, NMT, that is Nordic Mobile Telephone, TACS, Total Access Communication System, and NTT, Nippon Telephone and Telegraph. Now again, there are various GSM standards when I talk about the second generation. The various GSM standards are GSM 900, GSM 1800, GSM 1900, and GSM-R. So now let us understand what is the frequency range, carrier spacing, and duplicate spacing for each GSM standard in detail. Once again, I will repeat, GSM stands for Global Service for Mobile. It is a second generation cellular system. When I talk about GSM 900, the frequency range is 890 to 915 megahertz. And there is one more frequency range, that is 880 to 890 megahertz. When I talk about GSM 1800, the frequency range is 1710 to 1785 megahertz. GSM 1900, that is PCS, Personal Communication System. The frequency range is 1850 to 1910 megahertz. And when I talk about GSM, frequency range is 876 to 880 megahertz. Now, it is very important, carrier spacing. That is nothing but bandwidth. So whenever I talk about the GSM, Global Service for Mobile, the carrier spacing or bandwidth is 200 kilohertz. You take any GSM standard like GSM 900 or GSM 1800 or GSM 1900 or GSM-R. The bandwidth or carrier spacing remains the same. That is 200 kilohertz. And the duplexing technique is, for GSM 900, it is 45 megahertz. For GSM 1800, it is 95 megahertz. For GSM 1900, it is 80 megahertz. And for GSM-R, it is 45 megahertz. So these are the various important GSM standards, whichever we have discussed till now. Now let's proceed further. Again, students, there are some drawbacks for second generation as well. And therefore, we have moved or we have migrated towards third generation cellular systems. So now let's understand third generation cellular systems again in detail. So when I talk about the third generation cellular systems, it is having high speed data service. And the various different standards for third generation systems are UMTS, that is Universal Mobile Telecommunication Standard, which was introduced in Japan. In short, it is called as WCDMA, Wide and Core Division Multiple Access. Then there is one more standard, that is CDMA 2000. It is IS-95 successor. And there is one more important standard, that is TSCDMA, Time Division Synchronous Code Division Multiple Access. So students, I will repeat once again. The various different standards in first generation cellular systems are AMPS, Advanced Mobile Phone Service, NTT, that is Nippon Telephone and Telegraph, TACS, Total Access Communication System, and NMT, Nordic Mobile Telephone. When I talk about the second generation cellular system, the standard is GSM, Global Service for Mobile. And when I talk about the third generation cellular systems, the various standards in third generation cellular systems are UMTS, that is Universal Mobile Telecommunication Standard, CDMA 2000, and TDH-CDMA, Time Division Synchronous, Code Division Multiple Access. Now there is a reflection spot, students, for you. What are the wireless network generations in mobile and wireless communication, which we have discussed till now? To make or note down your answer in your notebook. At the end of session, before 5 to 10 minutes, I am going to take the response from your side so that I will come to know whatever we are delivering lecture right now. Is it fruitful or not? So there is a reflection spot, students, for you. Make note of it. What are the various wireless network generations in mobile and wireless communication which we have discussed now? Your response is fruitful at the end of lecture before 5 or 10 minutes. Now let us understand once again the third generation cellular systems. There is one more standard in third generation cellular systems, that is IMT 2000. So when I talk about IMT 2000, that is International Mobile Telecommunication. The indoor office, the data speed or the speed is 2 Mbps. When I talk about the pedestrian, it is 384 kbps, that is kilobits per second. Vehicular, it is 144 kbps. And when I talk about the satellite service, it is 9.6 kbps. So all these data rates are very important as far as third generation cellular systems are concerned. IMT stands for International Mobile Telecommunication. Indoor office is 2 Mbps, pedestrian is 384 kbps, vehicular is 144 kbps, and the satellite is 9.6 kbps. Now, the range is very important. That is multi-environment operations. When I talk about mega cell, the range is 100 to 500 kilometers. Macro cell, it is less than or equal to 35 kilometers. Microcell is less than or equal to 1 kilometer, and picocell is less than or equal to 50 meters. Now, students, you will have one doubt. What is megacell, macrocell, microcell, and picocell? So it is very important, students, when I talk about mobile and wireless communication, to be more precise, cellular fundamentals are very important in wireless communication. Initially, the structure of the cell were in three types: circular, triangular, and hexagonal. When I talk about the circular shape of the cell or structure of the cell or triangular shape, the capacity of the system is very less. And when I talk about the hexagonal shape of the cell, then the capacity of the spectrum is very high, and therefore it is universally adopted. And therefore, students, remember, in mobile and wireless communication, cell is nothing but the small factor, and the structure of the cell is hexagon. It is universally adopted because of large capacity in cellular system.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Your voice is breaking, sir.
Okay, now is it visible, audible, ma'am?
Now it's audible.
Okay,
Sometimes breaking, sir.
okay. So should I continue, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So students, it is very important when I talk about the cell. So basically, cell is nothing but the small geographic area in mobile and wireless communication. And there are different shapes of the cell or structure of the cell. You can have triangular shape, square shape, or hexagonal shape. But when I talk about the hexagonal shape of the cell, the capacity of the cellular system is very high, and therefore it is universally adopted. And whenever The cells combine together, then it is called as a cluster. All these definitions are very important in wireless communication. Cell is nothing but the small geographic area, and cluster is nothing but group of cell. When the group of cell combines together, it becomes a cluster. Now there are various typical values of a cluster size. You can have 4, 7, 12 or 19. So basically all these cluster size values depends upon the frequency reuse factor. That is the value of I and J. I and J are non-negative integers. And the frequency reuse factor is given by the formula I square plus J square plus I into J. Now, students in communication system, you should also know noise or interference should be always as low as possible. And when I talk about the capacity of a cellular system, it should be always as high as possible. So remember these two terminologies. Capacity should be always as high as possible, whereas noise or interference, it should be always as low as possible. So basically, whenever I talk about the cell, when I talk about the capacity of a cellular system, when I will get the capacity more, when the cells get splitted, when there are more number of cells, the capacity is very high. And therefore, depending upon the cell splitting or the splitting of a cell, you have various different types of cells like mega cell, macro cell, micro cell, and pico cell. So whenever the subdividing of cell takes place, it is called as a cell splitting. And there is one more important concept that is called as cell sectoring. So what is cell sectoring? Again, also it is a technique. Based on this, we can use or we can increase capacity of cellular system. So there are two important techniques to increase the capacity of cellular system. That is cell splitting and cell sectoring. Now there are two types of cell sectoring: 60-degree sector and 120-degree sector. And there are two types of cell splitting, that is fixed cell splitting and dynamic cell splitting. When I talk about the fixed cell splitting, basically the cells get splitted permanently or it is fixed. And when I talk about the dynamic cell splitting, the cell splitting takes place temporarily, it is not permanent basis. Again, cell can be splitted among themselves. Depending on that, you have different type of cell splitting. That is a fixed cell splitting and dynamic cell splitting. Now, apart from these wireless network generations, whatever we have so far, that is first generation, second generation, third generation. Now, I would like to tell you about the fourth generation. Fourth generation is introduced in academic year 2010. And the technology is based on IP broadband. In short, it is also called as Wi-Fi. Now, students, you must be aware of Wi-Fi is very important in this pandemic situation. Based on Wi-Fi, we get the internet connections as well, and you can online lectures also. So basically, Wi-Fi stands for wireless fidelity. So basically, that is the important technology in fourth generation. Then the various standards in fourth generations are WiMAX and LTE, that is long-term evolution. The switching technique used for fourth generation is a packet switching. Now there are two different types of switching techniques, circuit switching and packet switching. So when I talk about the fourth generation, that is 4G, the switching technique used is packet switching. The frequency band of fourth generation is 2 to 8 gigahertz. The frequency band is also very high in fourth generation. Data speed is 50 Mbps. That is tremendous. You get the data speed 50 Mbps in 4G. Multiplexing technique used is OFDM, that is orthogonal frequency division multiple access. And the core network is internet. Some vaccine fourth generation, that is 4G. And right now in today's scenario, students, we are in 5G. You must be aware of. So when I talk about the fifth generation, that is 5G, It was introduced in academic year 2020. The technology used in fifth generation is WWW. When initially we call it as WWW, that is World Wide Web. But right now in fifth generation, the technology which was introduced is called as WWWW, World Wide, or we can say Wireless World Wide Web. And there is one more important technology, that is IPv6. The standard is yet to be finalized in fifth generation. Like in first generation, we have discussed about AMPS, Advanced Mobile Phone Service. Then you have NMT, Nordic Mobile Telephone, NTT, Nippon Telephone and Telegraph, TSCS, Total Access Communication System. Then we have discussed about second generation. There we have GSM standard, Global Service for Mobile. Then we have discussed about the third generation, that is 3G, and we have different standards, that is UMTS, Universal Mobile Communication Standard, DSCDMA, Synchronous Core Digital Mobile Access, and CDMA 2000 and INT 2000. But when I talk about the fifth generation, standard is yet to be finalized. Switching technique used in fifth generation is again packet switching, and the frequency band is 15 gigahertz. Data speed is greater than 1 Gbps. So in fourth generation, the data speed was 50 Mbps, and in fifth generation, in today's scenario, fifth generation, data speed is greater than 1 Gbps. Multiplexing technique used is OFDM, orthogonal frequency division multiple, or we can say orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. The core network is again internet, and is very important handoff used, that is hard handoff and soft handoff. So there are two different types of handoff in fifth generation, that is vertical handoff and horizontal handoff. Now in mobile and wireless communication, there are different types of handoffs, that is hard handoff, soft handoff, queued handoff, delayed handoff, and MAHO. MAHO stands for mobile assisted handoff. Now, apart from these various wireless network generations, it is very important. There are two different wireless networks, or we can say fixed wireless networks, WLL and LMDS. WLL stands for wireless local loop, and LMDS stands for local multi-point distribution service. Students, I can understand there are so many full forms, but in mobile and wireless communication, you have to understand all these terminologies. All the communications are very important in mobile and wireless communication. And for understanding mobile and wireless communication, you should know the prerequisite subjects like analog communication, digital communication. Then you can understand mobile and wireless communication in better way. And therefore, during the beginning of the lecture only, I have given you brief idea about the block diagram of communication system. So the various blocks are input transducer, transmitter, channel with noise, receiver, and output transducer. The function of transmitter is basically transmits the signal. That is, low frequency signal is converted into high frequency signal, and the process is called as modulation. When I talk about the receiver part, basically the receiver receives the signal. That means high frequency signal is converted into low frequency signal, and the process is called as demodulation. It also increases power level of the signal. And then apart from this, there are two important fixed wireless networks which I have told right now. That is WLL and LMDS. WLL stands for wireless local loop. And when I talk about LMDS, it stands for local multi-point distribution service. The advantage of WLL is that we have to pay only once for wireless equipment. After that, there is no additional cost involved. So that is the biggest advantage of WLL. We have to pay only once for wireless equipment. After that, there is no additional cost involved. Now, students, let's proceed further. Right now, everybody is having mobile handset. To be more precise, smartphones. So now let us understand what is the block diagram of mobile handset or mobile unit. So when I talk about the block diagram of mobile unit, the various blocks in the block diagram of mobile unit are, you have a transmitter section, you have receiver section, frequency synthesizer section, then you have various parts like motor, vibrator, then you have camera. There are various different types of sensors as well in mobile handset. The various different types of sensors are camera, GPS, that is global positioning system, accelerometer, gyroscope. Then you have proximity sensor. Temperature sensor is also there in mobile phone, which is nothing but thermometer. Thermometer is always there in smartphone, which acts as a temperature sensor. Then you have gyroscope, magnetometer. If you want to measure the heart rate or heartbeat of human beings, there is a heart rate sensors as well in mobile phone. So these are the various different types of sensors in mobile phone. So there is a transmitter section, receiver section, frequency synthesizer section, then you have logic unit, control unit, and various different types of sensors in mobile phone, along with the different parts like you have trigger section, dialer section, motor, vibrator. Then you have a keypad switch also, which is called as a tick key, and various different types of sensors as well. There is an antenna also. Antenna is very important for communication purpose. There are different types of antennas. You have half wave dipole antenna. You have a folded dipole antenna, microstrip patch antenna, horn antenna. Then you have various types, parabolic dish antenna, Yagi-Uda antenna. So basically, depending on the applications, all the antennas are better, but the application is very important. So students always try to remember which application you are utilizing. Based on that, the different terminologies, communication system is very important. So there are different types of antennas, Yagi-Uda antenna, horn antenna, which I have told right now. So basically, when I talk about the mobile handset or mobile phone, the various or the commonly used antenna is microstrip patch antenna, or generally we can call it as a simple antenna or a smart antenna. So antenna is also very important in mobile handset or mobile phone. Then also I will discuss about what are the different terminologies or a troubleshooting procedure. Suppose many times students you are telling that, sir, my mobile is not working, display is not working. Then there are some troubleshooting procedures. So students, always first of all, you try to you try to identify first of all what are the various different parts in mobile phone. So for that you have to take non-working condition mobile or damaged one, so that you can understand what are the various parts in mobile phone, and then you will try to understand what are the various different parts, what are the various different sensors available in mobile handset. Apart from all these technologies, there are various important terminologies or emerging trends in mobile and wireless communication. You have a Bluetooth technology as well. Based on Bluetooth technology, you can transfer the data, you can transfer the files, audio, video. And when I talk about the Bluetooth technology, the IEEE standard is ISO 2.15. IEEE stands for International Telecommunication Electronic Association. So 802.15 is the IEEE standard for Bluetooth. Again, there is a RFID also, that is frequency identification. So all these are important or emerging, evolving technologies in mobile and wireless communication. So thank you and happy learning. Let us be connected. Let us come together so that we can spread this joy of teaching and learning. Now, students, I will stop sharing my screen and I will play a one video to understand what are the various different parts in mobile phone. Just give me the acknowledgement when the video is visible to you. Ma'am, yeah, the video is visible.
No, sir. No.
Now is it visible?
No, sir. No. Yes, yes.
Okay, I will play.
Yes, sir. But no sound, sir.
Yes, ma'am, there is no sound. Just you have
Okay,
to
okay,
observe
okay,
carefully.
okay.
Okay, now I will play one more video, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just let me know, ma'am. The video is visible.
Now it's not shown, sir. Please wait. No, sir. Yes, sir. No. But no video. There's no video. Clip.
Okay. Ma'am, is it visible?
Yes. It's come. Yes, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, I will play. Just listen all the students carefully, to be more precise rather than listening, observe carefully. These all videos are prepared by myself to understand what are the various voltage and current tracking of different parts in mobile phone. Okay. So, ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So students, we will summarize once again whatever we have discussed till now. So in today's lecture, we have discussed about the wireless network generations. And to be more precise, we started with the first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and then finally we have talked about the fifth generation. When I talk about the first generation, it was based on analog voice technology. The various different standards in first generation cellular systems are AMPS, that is Advanced Mobile Phone Service, TACS, Total Access Communication System, NMT, Nordic Mobile Telephone, and NTT, that is Nippon Telephone and Telegraph. But there are some disadvantages or drawbacks of first generation cellular systems, and therefore we have migrated towards second generation. When I talk about the second generation, the various standards are GSM. GSM stands for Global Service for Mobile, and the bandwidth of GSM is 200 kilohertz. Again, there are some few more drawbacks in second generation cellular systems, and therefore we came into third generation. When I talk about third generation cellular systems, the various standards are TACS. TACS, I have already told, is a first generation, that is Total Access Communication System. When I talk about the third generation, the various standards are UMTS, Universal Mobile Telecommunication Standard. Then you have TDS CDMA, that is Time Division Synchronous Code Division Multiple Access. And there is one more, CDMA 2000 and IMT 2000. Again, there are some drawbacks in third generations as well. And therefore, we have discussed about fourth generation and fifth generation also. Fifth generation came into existence in academic year 2020. It is launched right now in few days or few days back ago. And the important standards is yet to be finalized in fifth generation. So that is all about the wireless network generations, whatever we have discussed. To be more precise, that is the evolution of mobile communication. Then also we have discussed about what are the various parts in mobile phone. Right now you must have seen the video as well. There is motor, vibrator, speaker, dialer section, and so on. So students, always you try to make such videos by taking non-working condition mobile or damaged one, so that you should be able to identify what are the various parts which are there in mobile phone. So there are various parts like transmitter section, receiver section, frequency synthesizer, logic unit, and control unit. Then there are various different types of sensors also. You have proximity sensor, accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, temperature sensor like thermometer. Then you have heartbeat positioning measurement system. That such type of sensors are also available in mobile handset. And there are various emerging technologies in mobile and wireless communication like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Then you have wireless personal area network also, wireless local area network. The IEEE standard is 802.11. And when I talk about the Bluetooth technology, the IEEE standard is 802.15. Then there is one more important standard, RFID, radio frequency identification number. So basically it is same as that of barcode system. It is very helpful model, or we can say module, which can you can utilize for making attendance purpose. In college campus, you can utilize RFID and you can make the project using RFID.
Okay, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much. That is the session from my side. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
It was really a fruitful talk, sir. You clearly explained the fundamental aspects of mobile service and communication. I think all are benefited by your lecture, especially our third year students who have to study the communication electronics paper in the fifth semester. Thank you so much, sir. So it's
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
question answer session. Some participants type the questions in the chat box. Shall I read the questions, sir?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Is there any radiation risk in fifth generation? If yes, then will people shift to the fifth generation? The question from Soumya Nair. Is there any radiation risk in fifth generation? If yes,
Yes, students,
then
it is very important question. Radiations are actually, it is exactly harmful to the human body. So it is one suggestion, whenever you are sleeping, do not carry mobile along with you, because there are tremendous hazards whenever whatever radiations are coming out from mobile phone and which are harmful to human body. So it's a kind request, always keep your mobile phones away from you.
okay. Okay, sir. Next from Srinidhi. Sir, what are the enabling technologies for 4G and 5G in mobile communication?
Okay, the various important technologies you can have NBFM. Basically, that is nothing but narrow band. And there is one more various standards or emerging technologies like GSM, that is Global Service for Mobile, and which I have already told, that is CDMA 2000. So these are the emerging technologies. Then there are various emerging technologies in fourth generation and fifth generation also. That is, in short, it is called as 802.15.1. That is the wireless personal area network high rate. And 802.15.4, that is low rate wireless personal area network. You have Bluetooth technology, Wi-Fi, then you have RFID also. So all these are important emerging technologies in 4G and fifth generation.
Another question from Arati. Why mobile telecommunication system created and revised by 3G?
Sorry.
Why mobile telecommunication system created and revised by 3G?
Okay, as I have already said, no students, basically there are drawbacks of first generation, second generation, and third generations as well. And therefore, there is always upgradable. And therefore, we have migrated towards fourth generation and fifth generation. So there are limitations like data speed was very less, poor battery life was there, base stations are not working properly. All these are important terminologies: base station, mobile switching center, that is MSC, which is in short it is also called as MTSO, that is mobile telephone switching office. Then there is paging systems also. So there are different types of mobile wireless communication system like paging system, cordless telephone system, and basic cellular system. So when I talk about the cordless telephone system, it was based on full duplex communication. In communication, there are three different types of communications based on classification. You have a simplex mode, half duplex mode, and full duplex mode. So all these are important terminologies you should consider in mobile and wireless communication.
And the question, how we can measure the signal strength of our mobile?
Okay, so it is also a very good question. Students always remember, and it's a general announcement. In mobile and wireless communication, it is very important concept, something called as handoff, which is called as handover. And there are two important parameters in handoff. That is RSSI, that is received signal strength indicator, and the second parameter is nothing but bit error rate or packet error rate to determine the quality of a signal strength. So basically, these two important parameters are very important to check or to monitor the quality of signal strength. That is RSSI, received signal strength indicator, and bit error rate or packet error rate.
In a day, how much time should we use our mobile phone to reduce the radiation risk?
Okay, now that is also a very excellent question. Now, students, you must be aware of initially you have been told not to use mobile phones. Your study should be proper, and because of mobile phones, your study was not proper. But right now, in this pandemic situation, everything is based on mobile. Yeah, if you want to search any information or through Google or internet, mobile phones are very important. If you want to attend online lectures, mobile phones are very important. So right now in this situation, mobile plays a very important role. It comes under mobile and wireless communication. So mobile handsets are very useful in today's scenario.
Sir, I have a doubt that what's the risk in Wi-Fi? Is there any radiation risk in Wi-Fi connections?
Okay, so when I talk about Wi-Fi, that is wireless fidelity, the IEEE standard is 802.11. And in short, it is also called as WLAN, wireless local area network. So there are different risks and hazards in Wi-Fi. And therefore, we have migrated towards the new technology like Bluetooth technology, and you have RFID. So when I talk about the Wi-Fi, so basically wherever you are in campus, Wi-Fi must be aware of. And basically there are repeaters also which can increase the capacity of a cellular system. So basically repeaters are nothing but the bidirectional circuits. They can be installed anywhere. That means in short, I can tell as they can transmit in either direction as well as receive in either direction. Therefore, they are called as bidirectional circuits.
Excuse me, sir. I have one doubt, sir.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I have a doubt regarding the hidden cameras. Is there any
Okay.
method to detect the presence of such a hidden cameras in some private rooms or in hotels? That's one of
Okay.
the major problem we are facing nowadays.
Okay, so basically, ma'am, your the question is also absolutely right. When I talk about the camera, so basically, camera is nothing but the sensor in mobile handset, which I have already spoken about. Now, there are different types of mobile handsets, like smart versions, which I am talking about. So, depending on the mobile handset which you are utilizing, again, there are different types of camera, and the specifications are very important. How much megapixel? How much is the battery rating? How much is the voltage rating? What are the different types of sensors along with camera are there or which are installed in your mobile phone? So all these taken also you have to consideration whenever I talk about the camera in mobile phone.
Another
Okay, sir.
question
Thank you,
from
sir.
Shruti Keshava. Though 4G is fast enough, is there any need to shift to 5G?
Yeah, actually, whatever I have I have already informed you. When I talk about the 4G system, when I talk about the 4G data speed was 50 Mbps only. And when I talk about the 5G, that is fifth generation, the data speed was greater than 50 Mbps. It is in the range of Gbps. So data speed was very excellent when I talk about the fifth generation. It is in terms of Gbps, gigabits per second, but not megabits per second, which was there in fourth generation. And therefore, we have migrated towards fifth generation in academic year 2020.
Okay, I think the questions are over. Pramila ma'am, any question?
Ma'am, I hope the both the videos are also helpful for the students.
Yes, sir.
Understand?
It's very helpful to the students. And
Okay.
participants, if you want any question, please ask any questions. Okay, I think it's over. Thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions, and also to the participants for asking very good questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for proposing vote of thanks, I invite Professor R.G. Ajita, Associate Professor of Physics. Ma'am, please.
Hello, Mira. Am I
Yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Chief Guest of the day, respected Principal, Head of the Department, dear colleagues, beloved students, and all the participants. I am here with you to express a deep sense of honor and privilege and to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making the second day of international webinar a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose my sincere thanks to our resource person, Professor Pratik Taude, Department of Electronics and Telecommunication, Vidyalangar Polytechnic, Mumbai, for gracing today's webinar. Thank you, sir, for your very
Okay. Thank you,
interesting.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very interesting and thought-provoking address about mobile and wireless communication. Your
Thank
speech
you,
has
ma'am.
thrown light. Okay. Your speech has thrown light and served as a source of inspiration for our participants.
Okay.
We
Thank
are,
you, ma'am, and thank you so much for giving me opportunity as well.
Thank you,
we
sir.
are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our principal, Dr. K.V. Jaysri, who has guided us in a right direction and stood as a great pillar of support for all our activities. Thank you, ma'am. Let me place on record my sincere and heartfelt thanks to Dr. I.S. Pramila Kumari, Dr. M.R. Meera, Dr. Radhika for their guidance and encouragement for organizing this webinar. Finally, the wonderful participants who have turned up in such great numbers. Thank you so much for your cooperation. And once again, I thank you all for your active participation.
Yes,
Thank you
the
all.
participants were also huge in number. Otherwise, because of participants, the session will not be fruitful. There was about 90 actually participants. So it was a huge number. Thank you so much for participants.